Hello, my name is Abdullah. I go to Florida State University. I'm a PhD student and Fulbright scholar. I'm doing my PhD in mathematics. I've been I've been asked to make a video of my Fulbright interview experiences by my friend Mohammad Wakas, and I hope this video is beneficial to those who watch it. I mean, if you do watch it, kudos to you, because I'll be pretty general. Two disclaimers. Number one, the opinions in this video are my own and my own explicitly. They are not the Fulbright Commission's. A and B, I don't think we're allowed to talk about our Fulbright interview experiences explicitly, but it's been a long time, and I think I can give you general guidance on what to expect and what not to expect. That wouldn't be against the Fulbright Commission's requirements, guidelines. So I'm going to talk about my experiences, the plural, right? I applied for the Fulbright Scholarship back in 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2016. Yes, I applied for the Fulbright Scholarship 4 times. And, needless to say, I didn't get selected in the first 3 times, right? And the first time I didn't even get it to the interview. I didn't even make it to the interview because, my application, I figured my application wasn't something just randomly fill out. It's not just your name and address, the random stuff that you fill out, right? You have to actually work on your application. So I did just that after my first rejection, and the next 3 times I pretty much used the same application, except for the fact that I had a master's in my 2016 application, right? So basically, this background is to tell you that your interview can make or break your case. It is a vital component of the Fulbright application process, right? In general, right? The purpose of any interview, if you've been lucky enough to make it to the interview cut, right? The panel or the selection board is already impressed with your credentials, right? They just want to see how you are as a person, right? I could attach supporting documentation for who I am, right? But believe me, I am not my CGPA, I'm not my GRE score, I'm not the number of papers that I published. In fact, I'm not even the 101-page essay or personal statement that I write, because it's a highly polished version of me, right? It's my refined self. It's not my true self. Well, you definitely don't want to show your true self to anyone, right? But just saying, it's just like you market yourself differently on paper than in real life. That's an interview basically judges how compatible you are in real life and on paper, right? So that's the purpose of the interview. So keep this in mind, that all 3 times my application was pretty much the same. Every time I made it to the interview, except for the fact that I had a master's in my last application in 2016. Okay, so my first interview, like 3-4 minutes in, after the usual questions, right? The icebreaker, what I want to do, what makes me different, whatever, right? So 3-4 minutes into the interview, the interviewer asks me that my CGPA doesn't look exceptional, and the universities that I mentioned on my application were Ivy Leagues mostly, right? Hey, I just had a bachelor's degree. I was naive and hopeful with ambitions. Just want to take over the world. I can do this, right? When you're young and naive, you have these aspirations. You just have this extreme disregard for what's real, right? So I actually got offended by the question. It wasn't like I went berserk, right? Or it wasn't like that I started screaming or anything. We wouldn't call it a hot exchange, right? But whatever that was, right? It wasn't an exact response that should have been from somebody who's a little mature enough to handle, some negativity, right? Or some perceived criticism, right? Generally, right, it's common to expect people not to agree with your point of view, right? People don't have to share your viewpoint, right? People are entitled to their own opinions, right? You can't force your opinions on. Sorry, my throat gets dry usually. So people people have their own opinions, right? You can't force yourself on people, right? And there's no need to get offended if somebody doesn't share your viewpoint, right? I mean, sure, you can be respectful and argue your case, right? But that's the most you can do, right? There's no need to get offended. So, rule number one, in an interview and in general life, please, we're missing this a lot. Please be respectful, right? And do not expect everybody to agree with your viewpoint of the world, right? Everybody has had different experiences, right? But what brings everybody together is that we're respectful of each other, and we can use everybody else's experiences to make the world a better place. So, rule number one, in an interview, don't lose focus, don't lose your head. Needless to say, that always applies, but especially in an interview. Rule number two, the second thing that I learned from my interview. So I think this was the main point in my first interview, and moving on to my second interview back in 2014 when I applied for master's again. So I had learned not to be disrespectful, right? Or at least just be a little more calmer, right? More calm, sorry. Calmer. Anyway, so so I go into the interview, right? Well prepared. And I think it went pretty smooth, right? I didn't get the scholarship that time either, even though the interview went pretty smooth. I don't remember any awkward silences. I don't remember anything that I said that I should not have said. Everything was in line with my application, right? And I justified to myself, maybe the funding for math isn't. Funding for math students isn't as available as funding for other disciplines. That's how I consoled myself and moved on. But in retrospect, I think the what killed my case that time was that my answers were mostly parroted. They were rehearsed. Wasn't my true self. I might have come off as though somebody had fed those responses to me. So just be true whenever if you go to an interview. Be true, right? Be your true self. And I think that's exactly what I did in my final attempt, right? I was asked different questions. What you want to do when you, what are you going to do with the scholarship? Why should we give you the scholarship? Why do you want to, what are you going to do when you come back? Right, those sort of questions. And my responses were pretty spontaneous at that time. In fact, they were so spontaneous. I remember a question in which I gave a sort of frustrated, realistic reply, in a comical way that actually made the committee laugh. And yeah, and it expressed my frustration with how the world doesn't work. How what's missing is what I want to do with it. In a very respectful way, right? In a funny and respectful way. I think that spontaneity that made my case that day, because I was my true self. That was my true self. That was just me talking. What I had written on my application. That was a polished version of me, and at the interview that was me as I usually am. So I think that made my case in the final interview. So this video is already 9 minutes long, so I'll cut it short. So to wrap it up, your application, your interview can make or break your case. Definitely, it's a very important part of your interview process. Just like I said, I had the same application the 3 times that I got into the interview. And be calm and be yourself. That is the best advice I can give. I know it's the usual advice everybody else just gives out, but trust me, it is the crux of everything. whatever you want to do, just remember these 2 points: stay calm and be yourself. And if you have an interview coming up, I wish you good luck. If you want to prepare, wish you good luck. If you it's I hope you do get the scholarship if you're applying for the Fulbright team. Thank you for listening, and thank you for tolerating me.